Hey everybody, this is Justin from FrugalSnobs.com. What's up YouTube? Brock Christina with me, say hello.
Hello.
Today we have a new currency review video for everyone. This time it is for the 1934 United States $10 note. Now, we brought this note to everyone's attention because it's a depression note, right? So very bad economic period throughout the planet, of course, but affecting the United States greatly. Okay, now this particular period has been dramatized in film. Many people who've studied economics will go through a unit on the Great Depression. Like myself, when studying economics, I specialized in the Great Depression through most of my education. So this bill is near and dear to my heart. Again, 1934 series $10 note. Alexander Hamilton is featured on the note. The note features green ink and a green seal. And Christina mentioned that all new notes feature a black seal.
Yes.
Right? So you'll see the incorporation of the green ink, the green seal. Many of these bills, if they've been oxidized a bit or haven't been basically protected or preserved properly, some of that green ink may turn almost a brown color.
Yeah.
But you'll see again on this bill the prominent green ink, green seal, and you'll see a lot of darkness in the bill. And I don't mean that in a morbid way. I mean, you'll see darker inks and darker prints in the bill. Christina mentioned that the ink for the United States of America, etc., is very dark. It's black.
Yes.
It's a black color. So you'll see, again, very prominent darker inks on this bill, with the exception of the green ink. Now, before we take a look at the reverse side of the note, you will see that the tens on this note, the design of the bill is a bit different than the current era 2017 based bills. Again, money looks very different previously to, let's say, the 1940s than it does now. So again, you'll see an era of larger horse blanket notes or saddle notes. You'll also see this $10 note from 1934 is a regular standard cut bill, the regular standard size that we see today. So that is one change you'll see starting with the 1934 series of 10 versus the previous series of $10 notes as well. And again, the design of the bill incorporates the different sizing on the tens, etc. It's a little more artistic, I think, than the current bill. Would you agree?
Agree. And the other cool part about the front is it actually says, at least on this bill that we're displaying, Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, Illinois. It's a G note.
That's right. And see, again, back in the Depression, the Federal Reserve banks were also issuing their own notes. So what you would see up to this point, folks, is you would see basically two types of notes. A Federal Reserve note, or what's more common, previous to 1934, of course, is the United States note. And again, the United States notes were basically issued by the United States Treasury. The Federal Reserve notes, which you see today, which do not disseminate a denomination in terms of the bank, you will see a Federal Reserve note printing on the note. Typically, the seal letter will basically identify the Federal Reserve Bank for which, or from which, a bank was printing the notes. So in this case, you'll see here, for example, in many cases on the notes that you see today, you'll see, for example, A through, I believe, L.
Yes.
I believe is the last denomination for San Francisco. But typically, A, I believe, is Boston.
Yes.
B is New York. C, I believe, is Philadelphia.
Yes.
I believe. The closest, of course, bank to us is E, which is in Richmond, Virginia.
Yes.
But again, you will see in the seal a letter which denominates, essentially, or signifies the bank from which this particular note was printed and issued. Now, in the case of the 1934 note for Depression notes, you will see these are Federal Reserve Bank notes, but they're also based around specific Federal Reserve banks, in this case, Chicago, Illinois. So that is really cool. You will not see that on notes after a certain point in United States banknote history. You will see the return of United States Treasury notes, particularly in the 60s, with the Treasury issuing the $2 note, I believe, in 1962, due to Kennedy's order to basically remove the power from the Federal Reserve to print currency and, of course, vesting that power again back into the Treasury. So, all right, let's get away from the whole Federal Reserve Bank discussion and back to the notes. So, in 1934, we actually did a little bit of research. Before we take a look at the back of the note, I just wanted to put everyone's overview of this note into a bit more perspective. So in 1934, a loaf of bread was, I believe, what, 8 cents?
Yes.
Okay, a gallon of gas was 10 cents.
Yes.
So this note would have bought you 100 gallons of gas in 1934.
Or paid half your rent because the average house rent was $20.
Right, per month.
Yes.
Right? The average minimum wage, we didn't really get any metrics on because of the minimum wage law of 1938, which finally set a federal minimum wage at 25 cents an hour. So again, folks, you can think of this particular note possibly being up to a week's wages for some people. So very interesting. It makes you really think. The best steak was what, 12 cents a pound?
Yeah.
12 cents a pound. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That was ground beef. Was 12
Yeah.
cents a pound. The best steak, 22 cents a pound.
Yes, and actually, if you work 40 hours a week at minimum wage, that is a week's worth of pay.
That's what I thought. Because we were talking about this before when we picked up this bill, everyone, and Christina and I were talking about this might be a dock worker's wages for a week. And in the middle of the Depression, your health, being healthy and being able to do day labor was a big deal. So, especially if anybody saw the film Cinderella Man, you see part of how that would have actually worked back then. So that's the front side of the note. Anything else you want to say about the front side of the note?
No, that's about it. I mean, the only other thing that really sticks out to me is the fact that the cereal is also in green ink.
Ah, that I did not know. I see. Interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look at the back side of the note.
All right.
So you will see the Treasury Department also featured here. And again, the imagery has changed over the years, folks, not only for the individuals represented on the front side or the obverse side of the note, but the images on the reverse side of the note have also changed throughout the years. Here you will see the Treasury Department, but Christina, you noticed a very interesting addition to the image here, an old car.
There's actually several little old cars on here. I mean, it looks like a little roadster or a bucket tea on here. Mm-hmm. And there's one in the foreground, but then you actually see three more in the background, like they're driving down the road. That's
interesting. And again, I don't think people see that when it's period appropriate.
No.
On a given banknote, so we noticed that, and then we thought it was really, really interesting. So, again, this is the 1934 $10 note. Is there anything else you wanted to say about this bill?
No, I mean, it's similar to, it has an intricate pattern. It has a 10, but then it has, like, a banner with the actual word 10 written around it, one in each corner.
Ah, I see. Again, a little more ornateness to this version of the bill versus today's version of the bill. I just think it's really cool that you see all these older automobiles also.
Yeah, but it's time period relatable.
I think it's cool that it's period appropriate. We don't pay attention, nor do we really appreciate these things now, and that's why we bring many of these videos to everyone. Is that we're not just showing off old banknotes, but we're showing people pieces of history that you can actually touch.
Yeah.
So it is pretty cool. So
they're still obtainable.
That's right. And Christina and I actually have two of these notes. We have the 1934 that everyone sees here in the video, but we also have a second 1934 10 as well. So a very cool note. Both bills were also issued from the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. And again, these are Depression notes. So in a way, they're eerie cool, I should say, right? I mean, you kind of wonder what people went through during that time. But then you also think it's really interesting, too, because you're holding a piece of that period of history that you can only read about now. So, all right, folks, go ahead and wrap this up. This is the $10 1934 United States banknote. We hope you enjoyed the video. Please do check out all the other videos here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check out the Frugal Snobs podcast and subscribe to the show as well. Be well, never pay retail, take care of yourself and each other.